The story begins with Haruka, a boy who prefers to stay distant from his classmates, seeing them as distractions. One day, a magic circle appears beneath him. He gets excited because it's just like the ones he has read about. However, he quickly realizes he'd rather read about other worlds than experience them. Trying to leave, he finds the door locked, no matter how hard he tries to open it. The magic circle grows larger, causing the students to panic. Haruka escapes into the ceiling, thinking he's safe, but the circle catches up to him, transporting him to a white room. Surprised to be alone, he expects a king or princess to appear, like in the stories. Instead, the god of the other world appears, panicking because Haruka was left behind while the others were already sent. The god tells him to prepare and select his status and skills for the new world. A board appears, showing that each person gets 50 points to choose their skills. Since it's the god's first time summoning so many people, all the good skills are already taken, leaving only useless ones. Haruka is shocked when he sees skills like holding a stick and complains to the god, saying he won't survive. Annoyed, the god gives him all the leftover skills, and transports him to the new world, confused and unprepared. He finds a bag and is surprised to learn it has unlimited storage. Haruka puts on the clothes he finds, knowing they're just leftover junk, but he likes them. When he tries to check his stats, a screen tells him to roll dice. He remembers he has a skill that lets him allocate points by rolling. Annoyed, he curses the god and rolls the dice, getting a double M, which he doesn't understand. The screen asks where to assign his points, and since his skills are bad, he decides to put everything into luck. When Haruka checks his stats, he sees his luck is maxed out, realizing that M on the dice meant max. He also finds 2 extra skills. He gets the loner title, meaning he can't form a party, but also a servitude skill to command others. Though he's confused why no one else is around, he doesn't care since he can't join them anyway. He decides to find a base, but as he walks through the forest, the trees block his view, and he worries about monsters attacking. Haruka remembers he has a contact lens in his bag. When he puts it on, he's surprised to gain the appraisal skill. He finds some edible mushrooms and puts them in his bag. Then, he comes across a cave. As he enters, a stone falls, scaring him. After looking around, he thinks the cave could be a good place to live since he has a tent and lanterns. At night, he gathers sticks and uses temperature magic to start a fire, hoping it will keep any beasts away. Haruka sees his temperature magic has leveled up, and he can now start a fire directly. As he's about to sleep, he worries about monsters because the only weapon he has is a stick. The next morning, he wakes up relieved that everything is fine, thanks to his monster-repelling items and his shut-in skill, which protects his space. He makes breakfast with mushrooms and beef jerky from his bag, finding it delicious. Haruka then explores the forest to gather more food. But he knows his main problem is dealing with monsters. Suddenly, he senses something nearby and finds 2 goblins, which scares him. He checks their stats and is surprised to see that, despite their size, their stats are higher than he expected. Unsure if he can defeat them, he decides not to waste the opportunity and prepares to fight, but isn't sure his stick will be enough. He uses his wrapping skill to enhance it with magic. With the boosted stick, he's able to defeat one of the goblins. The other goblin attacks, but Haruka easily dodges and defeats it by shooting magic from his stick. He's happy to have won his first battle, even though he knows he has a lot to improve. Back at the cave, he finds a wooden club from the goblin, but it's too heavy and short for him to use. When he checks his stats, he sees he leveled up and all his stats have doubled. The next morning, as he eats breakfast, he gets tired of mushrooms and wants meat, but he jokes that his class rep from his old world would scold him for being ungrateful. Haruka notices his appraisal skill leveled up, but he's confused because all his items have a question mark, but decides not to worry about it. He goes outside to practice magic and gets excited when he finds food, but it's just another mushroom. He then uses his magic infusion skill, which boosts his defense and abilities. Feeling incredible, he finds 2 goblins and easily defeats them. He thinks he can handle 3, but when he sees them, he gets scared and decides to run. Haruka spends his days hunting goblins and studying magic at night. On the 5th day, he defeats a goblin with one hit. He finds a rabbit and plans to eat it, but then senses his classmates nearby. Using his magic sight, he spots the class rep, whom he's known since childhood. He decides not to meet her because he's enjoying his freedom. But when the delinquent group gets close, he hides in the bushes, but they hear him. Just as they're about to find him, they get distracted by the rabbit. Haruka, curious about their conversation, decides to follow them. Haruka realizes they plans to go after the girls, but he thinks they'll be fine since the class rep is with them. They tease a boy named Tanaka, asking him to teach them about their skills, believing they can do anything in the new world. After they leave, Haruka returns to the cave and is surprised to see his loner title has leveled up. He checks his level and sees he's still level 3, thinking it's because of his skills, Master of None, and Blockhead. The first makes it hard to focus on one skill but lets him do most things well, while Blockhead is useless. Haruka starts eating, hoping it will relieve his stress, but he feels sad because all he has is mushrooms. He wishes he could eat fish. At night, he hears some noise and goes outside to see the nerds from his class struggling against goblins. He wonders if he should help, but when he uses his appraisal skill, he's surprised to see that even though they have higher levels and better job titles, they can't defeat the goblins. He remembers they have cheat skills and thinks they should be fine on their own. Before Haruka can leave, he sees 2 goblins about to attack them from behind. So he jumps in and defeats the goblins. They thank him, but he struggles to speak since he hasn't talked to anyone in a while. Haruka takes them to his cave and wonders why they're alone. He's shocked when they say they're on the run. We flash back to when everyone was teleported to the new world. While everyone else is panicking, the nerds stay calm because they've read stories about being ice-guyed. The class rep tries to calm everyone down, but a group of goblins appears behind her, causing panic. The nerds are the only ones ready to fight, and the others join in, helping defeat the goblins. Afterward, the nerds take charge and start building a camp with their knowledge of the new world. The class rep assigns tasks, but the students complain and refuse to help. The popular girls won't do their tasks, and soon everyone stops working, expecting the nerds to handle everything. The class rep and the nerds keep working while the others lie around, complaining. The nerds continue fighting goblins and realize they need to level up because the battles are getting tougher. One nerd remembers the 2 skills that let users control others and knows the delinquents have them, since he saw them take those skills in the White Room. At night, the delinquents hunt goblins, planning to level up and go after the girls. The nerds overhear and tell the class rep, who decides to level up too, so the delinquents can't control her. After a while, the delinquents unlock their skills, but when they try to use them on the class rep, she easily defeats them. The nerds then use their powers to seal the delinquents' skills. Everyone finds out about their plan, so the delinquents are kicked out of the group, but they soon return and attack everyone. They set the tents on fire, and when they leave, the nerds are blamed for starting the fight. The class rep tries to defend them, but the situation is too awkward, so the nerds decide to leave. Haruka feels bad for them after all they've been through, so he decides to treat them to some mushrooms. Haruka spends the next day with them and thinks he won't be alone for a while, but he doesn't mind. The next day, they ask him to come with them to find a town and become adventurers, but Haruka refuses. After they leave, he thinks about how the town interests him, but his skills might make him a burden. He decides to check on the others, but on his way, he runs into a kobold. The kobold bites his hand, but Haruka beats it with his stick. Even though his hand hurts, he keeps going. When he reaches the campsite, he's surprised to find it empty and wonders if they moved. He uses magic to find footprints and follows them. He then runs into the popular girls but hides his face because he doesn't want to interact with them. They try to catch him, so he runs away, not wanting them to ruin his loner lifestyle. But when he hears them begging, he decides to listen. The girls ask Haruka where the nerds are, since he is close to them. They want to apologize for how they treated them. Haruka doubts they can catch up to the nerds and asks if they even know how to survive in the forest or handle monsters, making them cry. They beg him to teach them how to survive. When he agrees, his servitude skill activates, making them his servants. As they walk through the forest, the girls help Haruka with everything, and he gets nervous because they silently kill monsters. When one girl gets hurt, he gives her a potion, but she throws it at him, making him smell like mushrooms. Haruka wonders how to cancel the servitude skill. Suddenly, the class rep appears and tries talking to him, but he doesn't notice, so she yells at him. Meanwhile, the delinquents are making a plan to get rid of their biggest problem first. The class rep notices the popular girls acting strangely, and Haruka struggles to explain the situation. The class rep panics when she finds out Haruka made the girls his servants, but he explains it was an accident. Other girls from their class also think he's suspicious, and when Haruka tries to leave, the class rep tells him to stay. While they talk, Haruka gets bored and tries upgrading his base but causes an explosion and gets stuck. The class rep helps him out, and they realize he was helping the girls, so they apologize for the confusion. Haruka asks if he can go home, and the class rep is confused, so he explains that he built his own house. The girls are impressed and ask how many people can fit in it. Haruka says over 200, and the class rep is shocked, mentioning that they're barely surviving. She asks if they can stay for the night, and Haruka gets nervous, imagining a sleepover with them. The class rep tells him not to be weird about it. As Haruka leads them through the forest, the girls wonder how he knows the way, but he has a guiding skill. They reach the cave, and Haruka shows them his house. The girls are amazed and immediately jump into the bath to relax. Haruka, outside, gets nervous. Later, as he goes to bed, he's glad to be alone again, thinking the girls are too much trouble. But the class rep visits him, thanks him, and says everyone has been worried since the boys left. She feels bad for not helping, but Haruka tells her she's done a great job keeping everyone safe. Haruka cheers up the class rep, and she wishes him a good night. He can't sleep that night, thinking about the girls. The next morning, one of the girls wakes him up and says breakfast is ready. Haruka gets embarrassed when she gets close and asks what's for breakfast. She says fish and mushrooms, and Haruka gets excited, accidentally bumping into her head. When he eats the fish, he starts crying. The class rep asks why, and he explains he's tried catching fish but they were too slippery. Haruka asks how they caught the fish, and it's revealed that one of the girls has a lightning skill. She uses it to shock the fish. Haruka asks to see the skill again, then uses his packing skill to grab the lightning and throw it into the river, catching a fish. He's excited to have learned lightning magic. He explains that his skills let him learn almost anything. Then the class rep says they plan to go to the town but need to level up first. So Haruka offers to help them. Haruka asks the girls their levels, and they're all around level 15. Haruka is surprised since he's only level 7. He finds some kobolds, and the girls think it'll be easy, but they lose the fight. Later, they all meet in Haruka's tent and decide to keep training. The girl from earlier stays behind to apologize for testing him. She explains that the delinquents tried to take advantage of her, so she wanted to make sure he wasn't like them. She thanks him, and he calls her the fish girl. The next morning, Haruka wakes and hears the popular girls talking about fighting the kobolds again, but the class rep says they need to train. The group then trains against goblins and then faces the kobolds again. Haruka worries as he sees some girls pretending to be sick and others sleeping. But the popular girls beat the kobolds, and everyone celebrates. Haruka thinks his job is done and he can go back to his quiet life. However, the class rep asks him to go with them to the town. And that's where the video ends. Let me know in the comments if you want more of this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.